Hey y'all.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Shane. And this is Betty. So, this is our 1973 Volkswagen Westfalia Type 2 bus. She hails from South Carolina. Went down and picked her up a few months ago. Just got started tearing everything apart. We're recording this a little bit after we got started just because we've been trying to figure out this GoPro and how to upload videos. But we want to take all these videos to kind of help out anybody that's going to be doing this type of project like we are. We're going to try to be as inclusive as possible in everything that we're doing, make it a little bit easier, and it'll make it a little bit easier on ourselves too. So we'll have a video record of how everything goes back together. But this is Haley's dream vehicle, and like I said, I went down to South Carolina and picked it up after a few months of searching, brought it back up here to Virginia into this nice fancy storage unit. And we're going to be pulling it apart and restoring it together and then enjoying it. We're going to take you all along for the ride. So, I figured it'd probably be better to record it at this time once everything's out, so it'll be a little bit easier to show y'all exactly what we went through to get it out. Starting with pulling the back bumper, which is bolted in with 2 bolts on either side, one here and one right here. So you take those 2 out on either side, you can pull the bumper straight out. After that, we went ahead and started on the engine, pulling the exhaust first with these 3 bolts on either side and pull it right off. Thankfully, those were nice and easy to break loose, nothing busted. After that, pulled the oil filler extension off and we pulled the dipstick out to make a little bit of front clearance. We pulled this cover right here. There's a plastic round cover that came off. That one was nice and easy, gained a little bit of clearance. After that, we started working on pulling the engine tins off that surround the engine. There's just a boatload of screws all the way around. As you start kind of pulling on them gently, not to bend them, you can kind of figure out where the rest of them are and take all those out. So now we're good on front clearance. I started disconnecting the battery, labeling everything, all of the wires that came off of it. Kind of got that all out of the way at one time. After that, we started working on the carburetor, which ours is a center mount, and it has 2 runner tubes that come over right to it in the middle. They're secured in by these bolts here, and the runners are secured by rubber Ferncos with hose clamps on them. So we undid those, pulled the runners off, took the carb out. Now we've got top clearance. After that, we got the jack underneath, support the engine, and we pulled out these cross member bolts on either side, and that is nice and loose. So at that point, you're pretty much ready to drop the engine, aside from pulling the linkage and the fuel lines off of the carburetor. I forgot about that. Make sure you label those, pay attention to where everything's mounted up. So that's the engine done. After that, we started working on the transmission, which we undid these axle bolts on the ends, moved them out of the way from the hubs, and we disconnected the shift linkage, which is held in with a wing nut bolt on this side. Pull that out. Then you disconnect this bracket for that linkage. Linkage is out of the way. Disconnect the ground strap, disconnect these 2 wires. This guy holds the transmission in back here. You go ahead and disconnect those as well. Your shift linkage comes in right here, and it's held in by a bolt, 2 rubber pieces. Pull that bolt out, pull the rubber pieces out, and as you slide the transmission forward, you'll be able to get that linkage out. Disconnected the positive and negatives on the starter and any other miscellaneous fuel lines and whatnot that we were able to get better access to back here. And at that point, we figured we were ready to pull it. So we undid these, put a jack under it, and started lowering it down. Realized that this tailpiece here, even if you move this as far forward as you can, it will not clear the cross member. So what we ended up having to do is disconnected all of these bolts here and pull the tailpiece off. So when you do that, there's going to be a little bit of gear oil that drops. You're going to want to have a bucket ready. There were actually 2 parts in here that did slip out. They're on a little rod, so you might want to either catch those with your bucket or just be ready with your hand if you're not worried about getting dirty. You go ahead and catch those. But once that's out of the way, you're ready to drop it. So it helps to have a buddy so you can do both jacks at the same time, dropping it down. Definitely do it slow, just in case you forgot to undo anything. I think there were 1 or 2 things that we ended up running into, getting snagged on. But yeah, it actually went really smooth for my first time pulling an engine and transmission at the same time. So good luck.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, slowly coming. I'm still coming.
Same, we're going the same speed now. Oh, hold on.
Yeah,
Where's my battery? Alright, let's send it the rest of the way. Alright, so now we're starting on removing the fuel tank, and one thing that I would recommend for y'all is definitely get as many of the books as you can. The Bentley book I just recently got, I think it's a copy of the factory service manual. Really comes in handy. A lot of the Volkswagen guys in our area have recommended the How to Maintain Your Volkswagen for a Complete Idiot. Heard that's a really good one, and I am a complete idiot, so that one's coming in the mail. We'll have it soon. But anyways, so we're removing the gas tank. We got to pull this panel off to gain access to it. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 Phillips head screws that hold it in, and there's a seal down here, which I removed as much of it as I could to gain a little bit of wiggle room. Still couldn't pull it out, and it was just beating me up. But I found out that right down here, up in this area, on both sides, there's an extra Phillips head that holds it in. So you get all those out. You're probably going to need a little bit of manpower to yank it out, just because it's been sitting in there for God knows how long. But you pull it out, and then it slides down out of the top, and there's your fuel tank.
Woohoo!
All right, just got the fuel tank out. Here's how I did it. So up top, you have these that run across on each side that go up to the, I believe that they're breathers for the fuel tank, I guess. I'm not really sure what they are, but anyways, they have these rubber ends on them, these braided rubber ends. Mine are super brittle, so I just decided to cut them with a razor on both sides. Got these out of the way. Up top, you've got this guy that runs back over to where the filler neck is. It had, where'd they go? These horrendous little clips on them. So you pull those off. That hooks up right here onto the tank. Go ahead and slide that out of the way. Where'd my big rubber piece go? This actually goes to the filler neck. It's got hose clamps on it. So that goes on that side. This runs over to the passenger well here where you fill up the gas. There's this cover that goes right here. You can just pop that out using these 2 little indentations to gain access to all that. So once you have all of those out of the way, then we'll move to the bottom of the tank, which thankfully mine was empty. That's another thing that you definitely want to check, is if there's any gas in it. This threads down right here for the rubber hose to connect to for the fuel filter, which we went ahead and pulled out. And then after that, there's the fuel tank straps, which bolt right here, and it's a 13 millimeter. It'll come in handy to have a pair of channel locks to grab this, because it will want to try to turn on you, especially if this is, you know, kind of hard to turn. So you pull all those out. Then you're going to want to take a little pry bar, which I have somewhere. You know what a pry bar looks like though. And you're going to want to gently pull up on the tank. It's actually, mine was like stuck or glued down to the bottom of it. So we broke that free so that we could wiggle it. And then you have the ground, which hooks up right here. You disconnect that ground, and then you'll be able to turn the tank forward like this and gain access to the spade post for the fuel pump power. so then you'll be able to pull that out. Mine was routed right here in this little indentation, so you will have to break that loose to pull this out. But after that, the only tricky part was right here. There was this little clip that this sits into. It kind of got in the way, so you have to shift the tank over to the left, and then you have to roll it forward. As you can see right here, they have a little indentation for it to slide out, but it was getting a little tight, so I rolled it forward and it was able to slip right out. Then after that, watch your head, because it'll come back and it'll get you. And then go ahead and drop it on out. And just like that, it's out. All right, so we're about to go over how we took off the sliding door. First things first, you've got this panel right here. Goodness. So it sits up here like this. There's a little seal on the back. There's one bolt hole right here, Phillips head. There's another one on this side, which is a Phillips head. You've got to remove the sliding door catch right here. It's two 13 millimeters. Helps to remove the door seal first. Pull those out. There's one little hidden 8 millimeter screw right here. And on the other side, it's a Phillips head right here. It runs through over to here. So you put your Phillips head on one side, you undo the 8 millimeter on this side. So then what you're gonna wanna do is take a pry bar or a small piece of wood or something, and in between all these channels, you wanna push up evenly all the way across and slot this piece out. There's also a little plastic seal back here that we ended up taking out as well as it came out. So you pop that out, that's out of the way. Your door's still on at this point. So on the door, there's a plastic roller that rolls along this. And as you can see right here, there's a little channel, and I'll show you the door in a minute, but you pick it up and you pull the door out. So it's still attached to the top and the bottom. You pull the door out away and you back it all the way up. And if you come down here, you can see right here, there's a little channel for the bottom roller to come out. So you have to have it out far enough for the channel to pop out. It's shaped so that you can't pull it out if the door is right on the van. You got to turn the door out, pop that out, and then this top roller will drop right out. So I'll show you those now so you kind of get an understanding of what I'm talking about.
You coming back over here?
Yep, over here.
Okay.
So right here is the little plastic roller. So you're gonna pull that out of the channel, pull the door away from the body, and then on this bottom part, you can see right here as the bottom roller, you got to get this out at an angle to be able to pull it out and away from the van. And then this one right up here will drop right down out of the channel. And then your door's off. All right, y'all. We're pretty much wrapped up for today. We got quite a bit done since we're only working on it on the weekends. But pulled the gas tank out, got the passenger door off, cleaned up the shop. Just, you know, trying to keep everything in order. Pulled the front bumper off and pulled a little bit of the wiring out for the lights. That's gonna be fun, trying to keep track of all of that. But yep, everybody stay tuned. We'll have a new video out soon.